Friday. The bill is off today, so just me today introducing our speaker and a few announcements. Just a few things today. I know when you came in, you saw Cindy. She's here from Senior Wishes. I don't know if you saw on the community bulletin board, but Senior Wishes is doing a little fundraiser. They're selling raffle tickets for a chance to win an autographed Josh Allen jersey. So she's outside right now. There is like a QR code to scan and purchase tickets for the raffle. You can also pay cash or see anyone for Senior Wishes to do that. They're going to be doing the drawing on Thursday, September 4th. The prices for one ticket is $10, 3 tickets for $25, and 8 tickets for $50. It comes in a really nice frame too, so if you're interested in that, that's a really nice fundraiser, getting us excited for the season. The next announcement I have is Lori Gercio and Debbie Martino from the Wellness Office put in everyone's mailbox. I know a lot of you have already started asking about the flu clinic, so we had to get that scheduled. So that is going to be held Wednesday, September 24th, right here in the Maloney Center. Anthony Brown will be here administering that. That'll go from 9 to 2. So if you would like to receive the flu shot, please complete the bottom of that form. And if you want to bring it to reception, they'll make sure they get that to Lori. Then the wellness office will call you to schedule. So Anthony Brown does a great job. And Lori also will be working on setting up a COVID clinic sometime in October. So information will be coming out for that. Is there any questions for me or any community member announcements? Okay, well then, I would like to introduce you to our speaker today. Today we have Dr. George Scott. He is the Education and Event Coordinator for the Historic Colored Musicians Club of Buffalo. So please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. And you forgot president of the club, by the way, too.
Oh, sorry.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming here this morning. And I think quite a few from what I've been talking to earlier know a lot about the club already. But as you can see, we're celebrating our 90th anniversary this year. 90, yes. And we plan on having a big time party later on in September on the 21st at the Rich Product Atrium. So we'll talk more about it later on. First, let's talk about the club. Now again, back in the early 1900s, men and women of color weren't allowed to join the union. So in 1917, the men and women of color here in Buffalo would eventually form their own logo, and it would be known as 533. Now for the probably first 18 years, they didn't have a permanent home. So they either met in bars, homes, sometimes a church or a mosque even. But they would bounce around. Then finally, 145 Broadway would become available. And this is where we based the anniversary on. They moved in 1934. 1935, they would then incorporate it as the Colored Musicians Club. And that's when the history begins. So with that being said, I'm going to start the video. Can everybody hear okay?
At the turn of the 20th century, Buffalo, New York was a powerhouse of industry and a crossroads to the nation. It was the capital of grain milling and flour production and forged the steel to build America's skyscrapers. In 1901, its wide tree canopy parkways led millions of visitors to the site of the Pan American Exposition. Here, for the first time, they saw dazzling illuminated fountains, palaces, scientific pavilions, and exhibits from exotic places around the world. But among the exhibits were two, the old plantation in darkest Africa, that Buffalo's black population considered insulting. Successful protest rallies were led by Mary B. Talbot, a respected African-American thinker, educator, and activist. In 1905, Mr. and Mrs. Talbert, W.E. Du Bois, and other black intellectuals worked to form the Niagara Movement. Their Declaration of Principles condemned racial segregation and discrimination and pushed for equality. Just 4 years later, those principles became the cornerstone of the nation's first civil rights organization, the NAACP. Buffalo's black musicians were among the victims of America's racial discrimination policy. In the early 20th century, any Buffalo musician who wanted one of the good-paying jobs downtown had to join the Buffalo Musicians Association, Local 43. But the racial segregation policies of both Local 43 and the American Federation of Musicians barred colored musicians from membership in the union. As many Southern and rural black Americans left home for the North in the promise of good-paying jobs, Buffalo's colored population grew. In 1917, the year the U.S. entered World War I, the colored musicians of Buffalo formed their own union, Local 533. Under the leadership of its founders, members of the new union were gradually able to work in more of the clubs, hotels, and night spots around town. Meanwhile, Jesse Clipper, one of the founders of Local 533, became the first colored soldier from Buffalo to be killed in World War I. In 1918, Local 533 organized a social club where members could gather to eat, drink, play cards, and exchange ideas during their non-working hours. And of course, jam. 2 years later, bars, saloons, and nightclubs were shut down all over the U.S. Prohibition had begun. But for every bar that closed down, dozens of speakeasies and blind pigs opened. These illegal establishments hired entertainers and musicians by the hundreds to bring in customers. Thanks to Prohibition, there was plenty of work for musicians all over town. The jazz age was in full swing. By the 30s, the high living of the roaring 20s was over. The country was in the grip of the Great Depression. Yet people could still forget their troubles, if just for a few hours, at clubs where they danced to the swinging tunes of local bands. Boosted by its proximity to electricity and its position as a transportation hub, Buffalo's good times slowly returned. The city became an important stop for stage stars and musicians traveling the circuit from Kansas City, Chicago, and Detroit to New York. Theaters, opera houses, and a corridor of night spots kept this neighborhood glittering with marquees. Local 533's membership included nationally renowned musicians such as violinist Stuff Smith, band leader Jimmy Lunsford, pianist Lil Hardin Armstrong, and boogie-woogie piano maestro Pete Johnson. Then as now, all visiting musicians were required to sign in with the AFM locals before performing. Top national acts came to town and kept the clubs jumping. Glamorous night spots like the Moon Glow, Little Harlem, and Hotel Vendome. Musicians shared the stage with floor shows, comedians, and chorus girls entertaining patrons throughout the night. It wasn't easy to join Local 533. There was a test of musical skill to pass first. You had to play before a select group of tough critics, serious local players with big reputations, and you had to be good. That's how Buffalo became famous for some of the nation's best musicians. After hearing this high level of musicianship, band leaders often recruited players from Local 533 for work in New York, Europe, and nationwide tours. After the local purchased this historic building in 1934, the social club was officially chartered as the Colored Musicians Club of Buffalo. It was the golden age of both the local and the club. With more work for musicians, the club became a magnet for more people, black and white. Buffalo musicians like Lou Hackney, Wade Leddy, and Elvin Shepard, who had gone out on the road with top bands, came home and played at the club with famous traveling musicians like Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie, Della Reese, and Lena Horne. After playing to audiences at the local night spots, these celebrated musicians would drift over to the Colored Musicians Club to jam with whoever showed up that night. The atmosphere was relaxed. The music was extraordinary. It inspired new generations of young players and encompassed all forms: swing, big band, bebop, gospel, and blues. Local 533 was well run by visionary leaders who kept the union financially sound while providing many benefits such as a credit union, life memberships, and a $1,000 life insurance policy for each member. Local 533 was a positive force in the community through its dynamic marching band, legendary Easter balls, and the active participation of many members in the Shriners. Through the strength and determination of the union leadership, Local 533 successfully fought discrimination in the musical community, in business, and in its openness to all races in both the union and in its social club. In 1969, the American Federation of Musicians insisted that all racially segregated locals must be integrated, and Local 533 joined with Local 43 to form Local 92. Although this merger proved financially detrimental to the former members of Local 533, they still owned the Colored Musicians Club building. Today, long after the creation of the integrated local, the Colored Musicians Club continues as a lasting legacy of Local 533. In 1979, the club building was granted local landmark status, complete with a historical marker that signifies the importance of the club in the musical and everyday life of the community. It attests to the countless musical careers and friendships fostered at the club, the unforgettable evenings of inspired music, and the great jazz artists who performed here. What began as a segregated union of colored professional musicians ultimately flourished into a community that welcomes all players and lovers of music, no matter what their color. We invite you to explore the museum, discover more of the rich fabric of Buffalo's musical past and present, and meet some of the musicians who define much of the music of Buffalo and the nation.
You recognize anybody in that picture? Huh? Well, that video was made a while ago, and since then, in 2018, we have a New York State designation and a national designation as historic landmarks. So we're not just the city, just so you know. And just to let you know, this is what the club looked like, but in a few months it's going to have a different look to it, which I will show you shortly. But again, just some of the people that came through and actually were members. We had Duke Ellington that came through here a lot. In fact, about a little over 50 times he came through Buffalo. And then we had Ella Fitzgerald, who came through here a lot, performed shows at our place as well as throughout the city. And she had a friend who used to come by and watch her show by the name of Marilyn Monroe. Yes, yes. Marilyn Monroe, she loved her singing, and she actually got her into a lot of white-only clubs because she was a big star. She was able to do that, and then, you know, really helped to push her career that way too. And then we had Dizzy Gillespie, as was mentioned. Now, Dizzy was a heck of a trumpet player, and quite a few of our guys got to tour on the road, not only within the United States, but even over to Europe. And one of our musicians in particular, Alvin Shepard, was a heck of a trumpet player himself. And he wanted to tour with him really bad. But Dizzy said, well, look, if we tour, you're going to have to play something else other than the trumpet. Because I don't want to compete with you every night when it's my band. You know? So he learned the saxophone. And that would be a big deal because not only did he get to tour with him, but he taught a young man by the name of Grover Washington. So think about that. If he didn't become a sax player, Grover might not have been Grover. You know, and then we had Lena Horne and Billie Holiday. Now, here's something. How many people knew Billie Holiday actually lived in Buffalo? Yes. She was married, I believe, 4 times, and one of her husbands was from Buffalo. And one of the old timers had told me one day that he recalls Billie Holiday walking down Broadway Street, walking her dog. She was a big dog lover. In fact, several of her albums, they would have a picture with her and one of her dogs on the cover. So she really loved dogs. And she buried a few dogs too. But, you know, the club was a light place to be and everything. Now, as far as, and again, probably the biggest name to come to Buffalo and live here was Lil Hardin Armstrong. This was Louis Armstrong's wife. So she moved to Buffalo not too long after she divorced from Louis. And the thing that's sad about it, he met her when he moved to Chicago because he was a big fan of King Oliver, who was a trumpet player himself. And she was playing piano in the band. So he saw her, she saw him, they fell in love. They got married, and as they were playing, they were getting these big crowds. But she was looking, and she knew why the crowds were so big, because they were listening to her husband, not King Oliver. So she was the one that influenced him to become his own man. And so what did she get? She got divorced. See, that's what happens when you tell your husband too much. And then probably one of the other big names that come out of Buffalo, and people really don't know, is Dodo Green. Now, I don't know if you heard of that name. She used to sing at the Anchor Bar in her final years. Remember that? She would sing on a Friday night. Dodo was the first female to get signed by Blue Note Records from Buffalo, okay? So she toured all over the country and over to Europe, and she sang in front of quite a few jazz bands over the years. Now, her maiden name was Hawkins, and she has two nephews that are currently playing today. And in fact, the two nephews, Wade and Kenny, used to play behind Rick James. So the family tradition still goes on. And we had their Wade's son playing in our festival just a couple of weeks ago. So that's going to be another legacy in the future. And another gentleman that made it big from Buffalo was a guy by the name of Frankie Dunlop. Now, he didn't own any tires or nothing, but you get it, Dunlop. But anyway, I better quit with the jokes before you start going. But he was considered one of jazz's top drummers in the entire country. And again, he was from Buffalo, and he had a brother who was Boyd Lee Dunlop, who played the keyboards, and he used to play all across the country and stuff too. And he was a good friend of mine. He was always funny, told jokes and laughed and everything. But yeah, he's, again, Buffalo. And as I mentioned, the biggest name to ever come out of Buffalo was Grover Washington. And that's his teacher, Elvin Shepard, right next to him. And like I said, guys like this made Buffalo, or put Buffalo on the map. So that's what we want to keep it going. Now with that, let's see if I can get out of here. I need you.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just going to show you some pictures as far as what we're doing renovation-wise. Okay. Let's see. Sorry about that. This isn't my computer, so. Okay. This is the new addition that's going to be on the building. In fact, it's on there now. And what's going to be great, particularly for all of us old people, there's an elevator. Tell that kid to stop playing. I don't know what she's stopping for. She can run the stairs. You know, it was 24 steps, as I used to say, to heaven, or hell, depending on your age or needs. But this has an elevator, and the way it works, in fact, there's a pathway for a wheelchair, and it's going to be like a drive-up parking lot. So you drive right up to the door, you get out, you go through these doors, there's a receptionist right down there, and then on the other side, there's a gift shop, like we set up over here today. And if you go through the lower side, through the little bridgeway, you go into the museum. So now you're coming from the back way instead of the front. So we kind of flipped it around. But if you get an elevator, you go up to the second level, You see, there's a big room here, and we call it the green room, but we can literally have a band playing in that little space. But we plan on using it like a lesson hall, so we have some youngsters, maybe a little youth big band or something. And then we have 2 private lesson rooms where you can do one-on-one lessons with somebody. You know, say like if they play a bad clarinet or a violin, you don't want to hear the squeaking, so you set them in a room. And then you walk through, and you go to the Bridgeway, and then now you walk into the club, but again, you're coming in from the backside. But literally, the club is virtually going to stay the same, just that we knocked out the wall that's in back of the stage. So we moved the stage all the way up to the window now. And then the windows are taller, so if you're walking by or driving by, you'll see musicians playing on the second floor, so you know things are going on. We'll have new stage lighting as well as sound system. And we'll have a camera so we can actually do live streaming. I mean, probably your grandkids can hook it up for you. But you get on the computer and you'll be able to see what's happening inside the club in the warmth of your own house. You know, let's say if you're out of town, you know, you want to show your friends about the club, go on the site and you can see us playing live and in person. Let's see. Okay, this is just the full look of it. So this, again, this is the drive up that I mentioned, so that you can drive up there and get out. And we'll have some handicap cab parking over here on the side. And, you know, we're gonna have some plants and lighting, and I'm not sure about if we're gonna have statues or whatnot. But again, now the front door, we won't go to the front. We'll come out the front if there's a fire, but otherwise, we won't go in the front. But yeah, but it's still, you know, the beautiful look. And, you know, we'll do some things outside there. Now, this is currently, well, we're a little further along now, but this is sort of what it was looking like currently. But this is all finished now. And the building, mostly all the work now is on the inside. But trust me, it looks way better than what that was taken a while ago. But that's what it's going to look like. And so again, if you guys want to drive over there, you have a van or something, you can pull right in there. And then right across the street from the club is a big parking lot, which we own as the Michigan Street African American Heritage Corridor. And you can park over there and then cross the street. And like I said, it's going to be a great time, better experience, as well as we're updating the museum downstairs. So, you know, a lot of those old exhibits we're kind of updating. We're going to have some new things in there. And probably one of the big surprises that we'll have, particularly for anybody, we're going to have a booth and you get to listen to music, a song. And it gives you a chance to improvise over the music. And then you can put that onto your cell phone and take that home and play it for your family and friends. So you can show them how musical you are. And you didn't have a lesson one. So let's see. And this is kind of a concept of what that big space on the second floor in the new addition is. So again, we can do lessons, or you know, we have a monitor. So again, if it's crowded in the bar area, they can sit out here and watch it on the monitor. And this is when we were still working on it, when we had gutted it. And I just want you to see what it looked like when we gutted it. Now you remember those stairs?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I got it. Well, I think I had some curse words in there. But this was the doorway, and it had a little circle speakeasy thing.
Yeah.
Now, see, look at that, what they did. Stripped the ceiling, the wall, the flooring. And that was the stage area that you just looked at. And then as you turn around, we're heading towards the back of the club and you see the bar. So we'll still have the same bar there. We're gonna fix it up, varnish it and everything.
Wasn't the ceiling one of those old metal ceilings that the city?
Well, it was, they had tile, but you know, before that, they had another ceiling underneath it.
Oh.
But they had like a drop ceiling. And they painted on that. It was like stars and different things like that. I remember, but yeah, this was what it looked like before, but it's gonna be beautiful when it's done. And I don't know, anybody remember the painting that was in the museum when you first walked in? You saw that painting when you walked in the door? You don't, anybody remember that? Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a lovely painting, so we're going to be offering those again. And again, this is some of the old museum. And then this is our corridor here, so we don't need to get into that. So, any questions?
When will it be completed?
I don't get that question much. Well, we're praying and hoping it'll be in the fall, you know, probably October-ish, somewhere like
This
that.
October?
Yeah.
And is it open in the meantime?
Well, it's not open, it's still just, you know, doing, they got the electrical, they got the plastering, everything, all the big major stuff, the elevators in. Now it's just a matter of just like finishing the painting, getting the flooring in, then they're gonna stain and varnish the bar, and then from there, start setting in furniture and stuff. And then as far as the museum, they painted that, they got the electrical all set for the new exhibits. So now we're just waiting on have the exhibits to finish the exhibits there, and then they'll start bringing that in. So we'll let you know, we'll definitely keep you posted. But yeah.
Is your organization having trouble getting young people?
No. Once we get open. Well, part of the plan that we are going to offer is we're going to open a music school. So we actually acquired the building next door to our building. And once we get done with our building, we're going to fix that up. And then we'll have like an after-school program where they can come there and teach them how to play the different things. And, you know, we were also brainstorming about doing some other stuff, like maybe teaching them that they want to be a singer, teaching that they want to be a dancer. And, you know, so kind of open them up to a lot of different, you know, things that they probably wouldn't have thought about. So we definitely want to reach out to the young people, you know, but currently we have some young people that are out there playing today and touring, people that myself and some of my other colleagues had taught back in the day, and now we're seeing them playing, and now they're teaching themselves. So it's starting to come back, and that was pretty much the whole attitude of the club, was always reach back to the youngster and show them the way. Yes, ma'am.
Will you have a grand opening once everything is?
Oh yeah, we'll announce that for sure. But as I mentioned earlier, before that, on September 21st, I got it, relax. That's a Sunday, starting at 5:30, we're gonna have our 90th anniversary, a black tie affair. Just a big celebration, and you know, we're selling tickets for this, and like I said, it'll be a great event. We'll have food, and we'll have one of our historic member band playing for us, and we'll have dignitaries there and stuff. It's going to be a great time. If you've ever been in the Rich Product Atrium on Niagara Street downtown, beautiful. In fact, it's 3 stories high. Just a big, huge room, so it's going to be great. So you can either call us at 855-9383, or you can go on Eventbrite website and look for the 90th anniversary. You can get them there. Or if you can't wait, we got these young ladies over here who can get you your ticket today. So you don't have to wait. But yeah, So, yes.
Do you have any collaboration with the Buffalo schools to try to get students involved in your
And
class?
funny you would say that. We're actually working out a collaboration right now with Buffalo Sci. That's a charter school, and the high school moved into the old Mediah College building. So actually, come the start of the spring, I guess we're gonna go in there and start doing lessons in there. So I guess not only will we be teaching their kids, but I think we're even gonna work out something where we can bring in outside kids to come in. But you know, I've done some things in some of the other high schools around town and stuff. And there's been time where like we would have a band to go into these schools and we'll play the jazz and kind of explain, you know, where the music came from, how it got put together and stuff. So, you know, particularly if they got a music department. So we do collaborate much with the schools.
So you could have a band come and play here for one of our evening
Oh, yes.
performances?
I had planned today, but 9:30 was too early.
We will get that
But
scheduled.
we will set this up and come back and have a band, and I will personally give you guys something to throw at them.
I think we had another question over here, maybe.
Yes.
Are you still doing your newsletter?
Newsletter? Well, we're working on that.
Okay.
We will definitely have a newsletter. Right now, we're just doing stuff on the website, and we were doing like a quarterly, kind of like a news report from the website. But once we get up and running, we'll do. In fact, it's funny you mentioned that. Saturday we have our board meeting. Then we're going to have our media meeting too. So we're going to start pushing out stuff too. So yes. Anybody else? I thought I saw a hand. Must be that ghost. Thank you. Now, this young lady came all the way out. We have these gorgeous shirts that you see me wear that I model. This is from our 21st annual Queen City Jazz Festival. And just as a side note, I produced every last one of them. So I know how long I've been doing these festivals. So. But anyway, we got this nice shirts, and then we have these beautiful caps, which you see Laura Smith wearing. It has our logo on it, and it comes in gray, and we have it in black. Oh, that's gray. It's the thing. But yeah, come and get that if you like. So. There's a cost, but I'll let them tell you the cost. Because they change it every time, so I don't want to look stupid. Yeah.
Let's give him another round of applause. Thank you so much. I promise we will schedule time to have some live music here as an evening program, like you brought up, Nancy. And also, once the club is complete, we'll definitely do an outing and a tour that will lead from Fox Run on. So thank you again.